Today we publish a white paper on immigration, a strategy absolutely central to my plan for change that will finally take back control of our borders.
Scary scenes out of the UK tonight as rioters trying to smash their way into a hotel housing immigrants.
Anti-immigration rioters attack a hotel in Rotherham.
The Home Secretary said that Britain has lost control of its borders.
What we saw were hundreds and hundreds of masked Muslim men.
Illegal migration is creating division across our country.
And trying to set two hotels on fire.
I can see that it is polarising.
The leftists of the UK staged their own protests.
A far-right protest in the heart of London.
Illegal immigration is currently one of the most divisive topics within the United Kingdom. Since 2020, nearly 200,000 migrants have entered the country illegally, with the majority of them coming through channel crossings. Some are for the issue.
We'll say it loud, we'll say it clear. Migrants and refugees are welcome here.
Some are against the issue.
If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported.
However, within the media, both the left and the right have been represented as extremist and polarised within their beliefs. But is that the reality of the situation? Or is that just how the media portrays it? I wanted to get on the ground and investigate whether this was the truth, whether the media has caused more division through manipulating visual language to reinforce fear through ideological framing. Therefore, I firstly decided to attend the left-wing protest to hear their side of the story.
What are you guys protesting for today?
It's a broad coalition against the far right, so we got a lot of different interest groups here. I've got this sign, Women Against the Far Right. I'm also standing against the continued atrocities in the Middle East. But yeah, broadly we're trying to oppose Nigel Farage and his movement.
The protest was organised by Stand Up to Racism and the Together Alliance. Before attending, I was under the impression that the protest was to advocate for illegal immigration. However, the movement was far larger than that. There were over 15 different groups at this rally and over 100,000 people, all fighting for different ideologies. These included LGBTQ activists, the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and many other organisations. It was hard not to investigate these other bodies, but nevertheless, I was keen to keep my focus on illegal immigration.
So what are you guys protesting for today?
For the rights of immigrants from yesteryear to now, to today, to make sure that they are welcomed and treated fairly.
Do you think there's a slight misrepresentation in the media?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We were just talking about that. Absolutely. Like, you know, when people say about the immigrants and they're coming over and we don't know, they're raping our women and assaulting, but these things were happening before. They didn't just exist. They've been happening. And when you hear people saying we need, when other people have been raped, they've never talked about that before. They just talk about the person behind doing it, like where they're from, their colour. They should focus on what measures are we putting in to prevent rapes and assaults carrying on. So, yeah, there's a big misrepresentation.
When you do see illegal migration within the media, what kind of images do you normally see?
Usually pretty negative. I'd say in the media you usually kind of see, people talking about immigration and refugees as if it's a problem. There's a lot of really negative language that gets used that I think is quite outrageous. Things like people saying, "Oh, they're invading, they're swarming," words like that, which are quite dehumanising.
And how do you think people normally react to those images that are shown? Do you think it's negatively? Do you think it's positively?
Oh yeah, I mean it vindicates. I think that people, they do react negatively, but then there's also a note of triumph. People really want to have an excuse for cruelty and bigotry, I think, and that's enabling that instinct.
As the protest started to march, we followed them as they walked from Hyde Park into central Westminster. There were slogans, Chance? There were even people dressed up in Elon Musk costumes. But despite everyone having their own agenda or issue they were fighting for, there was one common middle ground for them. It was the fight against the right. And some of their arguments were very compelling. How could we build a society based on division? But there was one detail which stuck out to me, and it was the perception around the dangers of illegal immigration surrounding women. The first lady we interviewed claimed that the media scapegoats illegal migrants, but I wanted to hear what the opposite party had to say, to see if there was any truth behind it, or whether it truly was just the media instigating division. I came across a group called the Peaceful Pink Ladies, a grassroots protest organisation made up predominantly of mothers and women. They claim to advocate for the protection of women and young girls from sexual assault linked to illegal migrants and grooming gangs. The group wear pink to symbolise solidarity and amplify their message, and is led by Ola Minahay, a political figure associated with the party Restore Britain.
Education, all of those things have to come second to the well-being and the sanctity and the safeguarding of little girls. I'm sorry.
However, the group have often received backlash within the media coverage, with critics labelling them as far-right, arguing they use illegal immigration as a scapegoat for pushing racist agendas. Nonetheless, this tied in perfectly with what the First Lady was talking about. Therefore, I wanted to see for myself whether these claims were true, whether they really were mothers and young women all concerned with their children's safety. As soon as we attended the protest, tensions were already high. The Peaceful Pink Ladies were met with counter-protesters who called themselves Women Against the Far Right. They were one of the organisations who were a part of the Stand Up to Racism protest. I decided to conduct some interviews to get a better understanding of what was going on the ground.
I have a good slogan
Go for it.
our side, which I'm trying to share with the other side, which is, we are with the children all, we are against Sharia law.
Do you think that's what they're fighting for? Do you think that's what they want in this country?
I think that there's a big misunderstanding. If you listen to the ex-deputy leader of the Green Party, Mr. Ali, has been talking to the Free Speech Union about the fact that there has been a push of Islamism, which is different from being a Muslim, in the Green Party. And at the moment, that's a big issue. So that's why the slogan I'm using carries, because we care about people and we care about children, and we care about the children that have been sexually abused by these grooming gangs, which isn't even being acknowledged by the mayor of London, which is an abhorrent position to take and does not protect children. So although these people, they might feel that they're coming from a place of the buzzwords, love, inclusivity, actually the effect that it's having, letting undocumented people into this country that have already been convicted for things like rape and murder, isn't really in line with the words they're using. I'm for love, I'm for unity, I'm for all those things, you can call them buzzwords, but throwing around a label like fascist against people who are trying to protect children from sexual predators and acting like those sexual predators don't exist because of a label of inclusivity that allows you to actually undermine the rights of these children.
It was a very powerful message. It made me reflect on what was happening today. There were two groups, all predominantly made up of women, one claiming to be fighting racism, the other claiming to be protecting women and children from sexual assault. While both groups were standing for important messages, they seemed so divided within their perspectives. I tried to conduct some interviews with the counter-protesters, but no one was willing to talk on camera. But that didn't stop me from continuing my investigation. What else did the Pink Ladies have to say?
As an immigrant myself, I cannot absolve all immigrants from responsibility. I have spent my whole life mixing with different immigrants from different groups, and I know, just as much as every other immigrant, no matter how many generations have been here in the UK, that crime does happen within immigrant communities. Why do we hide bury our heads in the sand and claim that there is no trouble. How many more girls, how many more children, how many more women are going to get attacked and we're going to stay quiet? This is, at this point, it's becoming a tribalist war.
The woman doing the speech is called Khadija Brown. Originally from Syria, she migrated to the United Kingdom 25 years ago and has since become a British citizen. She gave her perspectives on safer borders and illegal immigration. After her speech, I managed to grab her for a one-on-one interview. What are you guys protesting for today?
Actually, today we're not exactly protesting. Today we are honouring the lives of women that were killed by immigrants, that were not vetted, that were new to the UK, that were offered asylum, and in return for safety, they took away other women's safety and murdered them. So we just wanted to speak up against it and remind people that they are victims, whether people call the pink ladies far right or fascist or whatnot, but they are victims and there are women who suffer, and we're just standing united as women to create awareness and in hope that the government will take it seriously, because grooming gangs have been going on for ages and the asylum seekers haven't made it any better when they're coming in and they're committing crime all the time. And we just want an end to this. We want an end that will stop all this political unrest, will stop all this division and fight, and this is what we're standing for. I wish more coloured people joined in, because it's not a racist gathering, it's a gathering of right against wrong, of women's safety, fighting for women's safety. I think every person in this world shouldn't be against women's safety, right?
Do you think that this is something that the Prime Minister himself is kind of ignoring?
Oh, 100%. In fact, all this that you see left and right and division and fighting, it's all spun and spewed and created by the government and the mayor. They want this because they are so capable with their platforms, with their power, with their publicity to end all this division. But they don't want it, because when we are busy fighting each other and ripping each other's throats apart, they are getting away with all the wrong that they're doing, with all the evil they're doing, with all the abuse they're doing to the country, the taxes, the elderly that are suffering. This is their way of manipulating us, because when we're busy fighting each other, we're not going to know who's our enemy. But when we are united, we stand. Divided, we fall.
Just as we were leaving the protest, I managed to get an interview with another journalist. He goes by the name of Young Bob. He has over 150,000 followers across social media platforms and is known for attending and shooting content at protests.
Do you think that this movement is being misrepresented?
I think everyone's just in a, not to sound too crude, an ideological circle jerk. So, you know, the sort of right-wingers would depict the left-wing as some sort of dangerous Marxist element, which I don't think is really true. And I think for the left-wing as well, they depict us as some sort of authoritarian fascist, which again, I don't think is true either. It's just political tribalism. People are beginning to not communicate properly, people are not having discussions, debates, people are not listening to the actual chants we're giving at these protests and drawing their own conclusions from media that they're picking up on their own algorithms, so they're not critically thinking.
Do you think that's done on purpose?
No, I just think that's the product of an uncontrolled social media platform.
His narrative of what he believed to be happening at the moment was exactly the thoughts that were coming to my mind. Can you not stand against racism, but also stand against sexual assault? Can you not stand for minority groups, and for young children? Both sides had very convincing arguments, and I couldn't help but notice the similarities between the two. Yet, paradoxically, both have such polarising views of one another. Though there was one similarity, and it was how the media has misrepresented this political topic to reinforce fear. These last two interviews reminded me of something the First Lady said to me.
How do you find that common middle ground?
I think things like this, and just talking and discussing, and being open to hearing each other, really. That's how I see it.
If only we could have more conversation with less anger, maybe there would be less division. Rather than throwing labels at one another, maybe we should learn to talk to one another. Rather than silencing, we should promote discussion and debate. Both sides clearly have educated people who are willing to have conversations, and yes, there's extremism everywhere, but instead of focusing on the loud minority, why not listen to the quiet majority? Or maybe we're too far divided to ever be united.